in one division she was toned down a little bit. You don't?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought.
I'm sorry. I'm just looking at Kat Dennings.
Oh, damn, he was always shaking his head. Well, you see them white women? Well, yeah, I know what picture you looking at too. Man, I'm over here talking. He's just like,
She's a very beautiful, healthy woman. That's all.
I thought you disagreed with me.
No,
I disagree.
Just motorboat in the air.
You know, for a movie called Thor Love and Thunder, there sure is a lot of hate and divisiveness going on.
Kids, get your popcorn now. Let me tell you the story of the space Viking, Thor Odinson, as the one and only Thor. Oh, spoke too soon.
Oh, people, what is going on? There was a time everybody loved Thor with his stupid ass. You know, he was so goofy and lovable. And everybody said, you know, Team Cap, Team Iron Man, you know, Team Hulk, Team Rocky, I don't know. But everybody was on the same team as pretty as lovable Thor, man. And now this movie's come out, and it's been somewhat divisive. It hasn't been completely love and hate. It's mostly been love and okay. You know, there's always gonna be somebody that's a hater out there. But it's, you know, so instead of doing because a lot of you asked for this. You asked for a Thor Love and Thunder spoiler talk. But anybody can do a spoiler talk. I just don't want to regurgitate stuff. I just want to talk about why. It's, you know, and we can go around the room and you'll see what I'm talking about. Why everybody cannot be on the same page with this, especially since everyone was looking forward to this, and I think everybody in the room loved Thor Ragnarok. So, you know, one of the things that's happening with this is people are talking about a lot of times the comedy in this is what's putting a wedge, you know, between the disagreements that people are having. You know, people are talking about how the comedy was just too much. But then there are people who are saying, hey, man, you know, they like a feel-good popcorn blockbuster movie like this. Ain't nothing. What's wrong with having a good time? Everybody wants to laugh. Everybody wants to come out of a movie feeling good. What's wrong with having a good time with this and having a few ha-has and giggles? But, you know, I'll go around the room and start talking to everybody and get this whole thing kicked off. I gave this a low matinee. I'm one of the people that thought that the comedy was somewhat was overshadowing some of the other parts of the movie where you had characters that could be a little more developed. But Martin loved it. It's one of your favorite movies of the summer, if not your favorite movie of the summer. And you didn't hear Chris's review of this. He saw it, what, Friday?
Yeah.
Thursday?
Yeah, no. I really enjoyed it.
And you really enjoyed it. What would you rate it?
I would give it a full price.
Okay.
I feel like, you know, in terms of the dramatic stuff and the comedy, it mostly worked for me.
What'd you think?
I would, nah.
There you go. Yeah, we're all very different. I love it.
Brad Jones says,
Yeah. That was also the noise I made in the theater. No, I didn't hate this movie. I'd give it a rental. It was the comedy that I couldn't do it. You have Jane dealing with this cancer issue, breaking a sink, and then seconds later it was the joke with the grenade with Mary J. Blige playing, and I couldn't do it. It was a hard review to write because I didn't want it to make it seem like, oh, I just don't like it when these movies have comedy in it. No, that's not the case. It just was consistently jokes that I didn't care for. And honestly, though, I wasn't that big of a fan of Ragnarok for the same reason.
All right.
So I was honest about that at the beginning of the review. I go, keep that in mind. I may not be your go-to source on this film. So when I see that that's what a lot of the criticisms of this movie were, I was like, well, I kind of had that issue with the last one. But yeah, no, I'd give it a rental. I didn't hate it. I did like the goats.
Man,
that was if there was one joke where I was like,
So good.
this is consistently getting a laugh out of me, it was the goats.
Yeah, man. No, those people. Martin's like, man, why are you giving this movie such shit, man? You laughed every time those goats came on. Well, if it was a movie just the whole time it was goats, I would have probably given this a full price. Oh, you see what I don't have. it was funny because we did a review. I didn't have any clips of the goats, so I had to go.
You got one now?
I got one now.
It's
Yes.
the closest. That is accurate.
The screaming Mexican from Jurassic Park.
He still gets good work, man.
No, he does.
That's
Yeah.
a goat. That's a goat
Yeah.
this time.
Yeah, it sounded just like that.
Yeah.
I think, and again, I think what people are looking at with this, and we're going to talk about some things we probably already mentioned in our review, but I do think that people who are complaining about the comedy, it always comes back to Gorr and Christian Bale's character.
Yeah.
I think. And again, for people who just were there to have fun, the movie delivers on that. It's not like a versus type thing, I don't think. I think because the comedy didn't bother you at all. I
I love the comedy. I was laughing. I was surprised that I was laughing at all the jokes.
Yeah. Thing is, I don't even think that the comedy was bothering me. I actually liked the comedy in it. I laughed so hard at some things. But just to go deeper into what we're talking about here, now that we can actually talk about this in a spoilery type discussion. And we're gonna have Oz come in a little bit and give you his review too, and getting in on the discussion. But this movie starts out with Christian Bale's character at the beginning losing his daughter and being turned against the gods, and saying that is my sole mission, to actually do this, to do what this sword has told me to do, kill all gods. And I noticed that this movie didn't do something that some of the best villains have done for them in other Marvel movies. The guy just disappears through the middle of the film.
That second, third. Yeah, he's great.
Like he comes in the middle for a fight, but that's it. But as far as to see him be a character, the last great character that they had, or the last couple of great characters they had, one was Killmonger, man. Killmonger, like this scene right here. The movie came in to set up how ruthless this guy is. What was missing with Gorr was you did not get to see him torture, threaten, kill a god or full civilizations. Something like, and I'm just going to show you just an example. Killmonger is set up as a guy who is very intimidating early on in the middle of the film.
I beg your pardon.
It was taken by British soldiers in Benin, but it's from Wakanda. You got all this security in here watching me ever since I walked in, but you ain't checking for what you put in your body.
That's where people are complaining about the comedy in Thor, where it's like the comedy is not the problem. The comedy is that it just, it takes away from a lot of things, like this character right here. We could say the same thing about Thanos. Thanos was introduced several times in the middle of these movies to show how threatening he is. We don't get that. I think that's why Thor Ragnarok, I think, worked better for me, because even Jeff Goldblum was given a chance to show you. And he's a hilarious character, but he melts somebody and shit. It's like, okay, this guy ain't around. All right. I think with you also, like with Jane Foster dying, I think that's a great point. The woman, we didn't talk about this in the review because we didn't want to spoil anything. We figured that because a lot of people thought they just did not talk about that at all. That they left that cancer storyline out. And they did put it in the movie.
Yeah.
And I thought that, I love the way they kind of handled it with laughs here and there. But when she actually, she gets to a point she dies, I didn't really feel anything for her at that moment, because I thought that the movie had been treating it like a joke through the whole thing.
Yeah, I did, and I didn't think I would, because it is such a comedic movie, and yet when she did die, I was like, oh dang, I actually do feel something. I'm surprised I feel this. I might have felt the way you guys did if the jokes were in like with Gorr. There's no jokes with his scenes. There's not enough of Gorr, but what there is, the jokes aren't running into it, cutting down on that. And even though there's jokes with Jane all the time, not really with the cancer. That's treated seriously. Yeah. So that kept me from feeling like, man, this is just a bunch of jokes. I was like, you know what? It's mostly funny. I'm having a great time, but there are these moments where this is important and this is serious, and it's handled that way. And the whole thing has kind of a a quick flowing, breezy tone, but surprisingly, I still had emotions about it, and like Chris said, I liked the way it ended.
Yeah. One of my biggest concerns I talked about this often, was bringing Jane Foster back. I'm like, I don't like that character from the first 2 movies. She was just there to make goo-goo eyes at Thor, and he was to make the goo-goo eyes at her. It's like, it's not necessary. And Taika Waititi did what those previous 2 filmmakers couldn't do, was make her a thoroughly developed character. Give her something to do other than be the damsel in distress and the love interest. I liked what they did with her as Mighty Thor, but I liked we don't often see that in a lot of superhero films. Someone who is being affected by this deadly disease, cancer, something that is so human, that makes her so human and grounds her. And despite her, wanting to be a superhero and doing these things, it's the thing that inevitably kills her. And that's what makes her a hero, makes her such a compelling character at the very, very end. And I love that. I love that about her role in this movie. They made me give a shit about a character I never cared about.
Yeah, that's a good point. I did like her better in this than I did the first 2. And it was only for one scene, but I also like Kat Dennings a lot better in this one than I did the first 2 movies.
Yeah.
Well, I liked her a lot in the first one, and I was like, man, she's great. I want more of her. And the second one, I was like, no, I take it back.
Get out of here! Get out of here! Yeah.
I want another wish.
In One Division, she was toned down a little bit. You don't?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought.
I'm sorry. I'm just looking at Kat Dennings.
Oh, damn! He was always shaking his head. Oh, you see the white women? Well, y'all know. I know what picture you looking at. Too. Man, I'm over here talking. He's just like,
She's a very beautiful, healthy woman. That's all.
I thought you disagree with me. No, I disagree. They just don't put a lot of her in the movie because in this one, it was a cameo almost.
Yeah, it was a
little
cameo.
bit. Well, in the first one, she's kind of the intern then, and she's just making her jokes because she's new. She's like trying to figure things out and all. The second one, they had her just crowbarring in joke after joke after joke.
Yeah.
And it's almost like she was rambling. It's like, if you have anything important to say, can you just leave?
You shut.
I'm not doing it. Now I'm being careful. Yep, agreed, Martin. Agreed.
Also, for some people, and not speaking for myself, I think the divisiveness is not really coming from Thor. I think it's coming from, people are having feelings about the Marvel Cinematic Universe, especially now in this phase. I think a lot of that is just being brought into Thor.
Yeah,
sure.
I think so. I think through Phase 4, and I've been seeing this for a while. It's like, man, this Phase 4 has been super weak. But they've been dealing with secondary and B-list characters, so it's been like, well, okay. Now our A-list guy, he's going to bring it home.
Yeah.
And then if you didn't like that, then it was all the anger stored up from everything else that gets dropped on this. I mean, also as a thing, well, for Brad, if comedy is subjective, so if you don't find it funny, there's nothing that can be done for you.
Yep.
And there are people. There's that faction of people who don't like the comedic Thor, who like I keep want to say Round Rock. Ragnarok is where they were like, nah, man, that's not how you do Thor.
And that's what Brad is saying.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I love the comedic Thor, man. I adore this Thor. The dumber he gets, the more I love him, the more the appeal he has for me. But I think what is happening is that there's a lot of baggage just being brought in from the MCU now. And I think the way some people, and again, not to say that anybody's wrong for how they feel, not at all, man. That's not what I'm saying. But I see, because I think I'm one of those people who appreciates that people likes this movie. I mean, it's a fun film, so I'm not going to hate on somebody for enjoying themselves. But I do think that there are people who are also like me. They don't hate these movies, but we are starting to feel sort of a fatigue from these movies, starting to feel sort of the same. Phase 4 has all of it seems to have the same tone, with some exceptions, like Guardians of the Galaxy 3. That's not going to be too different from Thor,
right?
And some of these other movies have also taken on that tone. I feel like we know we're getting to a point where it's at a level of predictability that everybody just wants a little more variety now. And like I said, I don't mind Thor, man. Thor is one of my favorite characters right here. And I like the arc that he's had, because he went from being depressed and overweight and sad to being the man that we see here right now.
Mm-hmm.
And that's because he takes care of himself
Oh,
mentally
no, no,
and
no,
physically, as well as physically. You know what? I'm sure Thor had better help, man. Oh, but like, no. Yeah, man, listen. You know, he went from dad bod to god bod, but he also got that mind straight too. Better help, man. Martin's probably saying, you need some better help. You walk in this movie, you can't have a good time, you can't laugh at this, you know, you can't get no smiles from Thor. You need help.
You laugh, you just after you're like, man.
Yeah, maybe my mind is bad. Maybe I need to talk to somebody. Maybe I need some counseling. You know, but seriously though, we're joking. We always, Carlos just said, you need help. Why you so unhappy? We're joking and we always do this, but we do take people's mental health seriously. And here's the thing about keeping yourself mentally healthy. 'Cause a lot of people think going to therapy means that, oh, there's something wrong with me. I'm mentally ill. I'm crazy. You know, no, it's not that. Hey, you exercise your body. Mm-hmm. You go to the doctor for your body. Mm-hmm. It's okay to every now and then get some help for your mentality too, your mental state. And that's where BetterHelp comes in. And BetterHelp has become a popular way to do that because BetterHelp is online therapy. So if you want to talk to somebody and do a face-to-face, you can, but if that's not your thing, you don't have to. And I know that's been a thing with people for a long time. Man, I don't know, I just don't like going to the office and talking to somebody.
Yeah, I know, but if you had a toothache, you go see a dentist.
Yes, yes, you would. So don't be afraid to try this. It's never been easier to get therapy and get the help you need to keep you in a good mental state. Also, it's much more affordable than in-person therapy, and they match you up with somebody based on the information you give them, and they do that within less of 48 hours. So I said I've been to therapy before, and I used to have this whole thing, you know, I can't let nobody see me doing this. I used to run to my therapist's office. Yeah. Somebody would see me. I ain't crazy. But yeah, keep your happiness, your well-being is very important. So, like I said, you don't get help from BetterHelp, get it somewhere. But BetterHelp is a great place to start. One, because, well, we're here to help you with that. If you go to, and here it is right here. You've heard me say it before. I'm going to say it again. BetterHelp.com/double-toasted. You'll get 10% off your first month. I want to thank BetterHelp for sponsoring and supporting the show. And also, I want to thank all of you out there for your support. And hey, this is already putting people in a good mood right here. Look at that right there. She was down on the ground barking at me. I don't know why.
All right, end this shit.
Yes, there you go.
She's good.
I will tell you this. I think one of the reasons why people are saying they're divided on the Marvel universe is because people have been saying what I've been saying. It doesn't feel like it has a goal like it did with Endgame and Thanos. You know, and it might. Some people are just saying it does not feel that way.
I mean, it might not, but you think about when it started, it didn't really have a goal. The only goal was, like, it wasn't even initially like, hey, we're going to make the Avengers. It was like, we want to launch these characters. Okay, well, we got them launched now. Now let's focus on a goal. Let's launch the Avengers. And then it became, all right, now we got to build up to the war with Thanos.
But then every movie ended with, you know, it was either mentioned throughout the movie or it ended with, okay, that mother. So,
yeah.
And we don't have that with this. And I'm not blaming this completely on it, but I don't think and the reason why I think it's feeling that way is because I think this is a big thing. I think there's a loss of leaders in this phase of Marvel.
Yeah, Feige's been focused on Star Wars.
Yeah, no, I'm talking about leaders in the Marvel universe.
Characters.
Characters, man.
Founding members.
Yeah, you know, because if you think about it, the leaders who were kind of leading this thing and holding it all together, they're gone. We ain't got Tony and Steve no more. Right. Iron Man and Captain America, they are gone.
Thank you, Tony. Will you keep that a little quiet? Didn't bring one for the whole team.
You know, those guys, once they stop being bitches and fighting each other. They had it going, man.
The next person with seniority would be Thor, and he's just not.
No. Well, that's what I'm telling you. Like,
Even he knows that.
Black Widow, even Black Widow was a leader in a way. She's gone now. You know, everybody is either retired or they're dead. Who do we have running things? Kids and idiots. You know, there's no adults in the room. You know, there's no teachers in the room. There's no guidance. So I think a lot of people are feeling kind of lost because, you know, not only is that no big baddie that we know that we're aiming for, all the big people who were holding it together, they're gone now. And I also think bad villains, we've had a number of them, man. And they've been kind of weak. And, you know, for one, like, I like this movie, but, you know, Eternals, like, and I know, there you go, man, stop.
That chocolate bar in space, that Hershey. That Hershey bar in space.
That Kit Kat. That's what I was, look, ever since you said, God damn you, man.
Dude, that is a Kit Kat.
It's got some caramel swirl in there. It's one of those fancy ones.
I want to break a piece off.
We talked about this on Thursday. Because every time I see this now, I think, give me a break.
Yeah.
Give me a break. Give me a break of that Kit Kat bar.
It's one of those. It's one of those far out flavors from Japan. Floating in space.
Sun flavored.
Far out flavor.
But no, you know, I like this movie more than the average person out there. But one thing everybody agrees on: weak ass villain.
Yeah.
One of the worst ones,
they had a. It was some old.
Wolf hentai monster.
It was a lizard man, some crazy ass lizard man that nobody knew about. Or it was Icarus.
Oh yeah,
who came
okay.
in. Yeah, some creatures like that. No, I have to agree with you on that. Black Widow.
Oh.
It's a different tone of movie, like Eternals was. Because Eternals and Black Widow, they're in this phase. They're the ones that feel like they're not going the full humor or comedic route, but weak villain, man. Even the movie that everybody was looking forward to, I think this suffers from a movie where the humor is again blending in with the rest of the humor of these movies, where they're starting to take on the same Ant-Man tone, as I said. But this is one where I could see it because it was a Jackie Chan film. But even the villain in that was weak.
You walked in my shadow.
You know, that was the Mandarin.
Yeah.
And I thought, and the Mandarin ended up being kind of weak.
I know. I mean, I love the actor and how he played him, but I never felt threatened by him.
Yes, and that's the problem.
And then it turns into a big CG kaiju fight at the
yes.
end.
Yeah.
And that's another thing that's happening right now. I think, again, that's why the baggage is really strong when people are talking about Gorr in this movie, because, you know, we've had so many movies now where the villain is weak. So looking at Gorr, people are like, wow, you know, this has had a chance to be another character that could have been very threatening, very scary. If we had seen, there was
And
a
he
scene.
starts out that way.
He does. No, he does. There was actually a scene, I think, where he was supposed to go and torture and kill Peter Dinklage's character, the big dwarf.
Yeah.
And that was cut. That's a character. That's a scene that we actually needed.
Yeah, there's a bunch. There's stuff with Lena Headley, who that was completely cut out of the movie, and I'm curious about these cut scenes. I mean, I hope they do some kind of extended cut, because I was like, man, there's a lot that should have been in here.
Yeah, even Spider-Man: No Way Home contributes to the to the villain part. Now maybe they aren't weak villains.
Be careful what you wish for, Parker. Hello, Peter.
They're not weak villains, but they're recycled villains, you know. So
It's still good.
It's not.
I guess I would disagree with you in that regard, because I mean you brought back these you either brought back villains that people already loved and put them in new scenarios and made them even more dangerous in some cases, or you redeemed some of them.
Well, you know,
or you made them more threatening.
I thought Willem Dafoe. No, there's a point where
he's fantastic as the Green Goblin.
No, he is. Yeah. But there was just that middle point where they all had a sitcom going on in the apartment and shit.
See, you know, that's the thing. I like that scene.
See,
you and I guess, you know, I like that movie more than both of you did. So
no, you do. And again, I think this is a good example of how the humor just, you know, how different people accept it and
Sure.
how they like it.
In regards to like, because I wanted to mention this with Shang-Chi, I really like Wenwu. I really like the Mandarin. But I agree with you. I wish they just kept it on the father-son story and not go with the mystical, magical mumbo-jumbo land. I agree with you. Because then you killed him. It's like, why? If I can guess what this phase is leading to, they introduced the multiverse. This is all leading to Secret War eventually. This like all these different characters, all these different franchises coming back. You'll have all these things in this multiversal war, part 1, part 2, part 3. And the big bad will be Doctor Doom. Inevitably, and I hope they introduce. I would think they would introduce him at the end of this phase because it won't be an Avengers movie. It'll be Fantastic Four, Phase 4 for Fantastic Four, and so that's what you do. And he's the one that's like in control of everything, or actively trying to be in control. But I don't know. This is based on nothing. This is based on speculation.
No, then come on, jump in, man.
Just to piggyback off of what Chris was saying and what you guys were saying as far as bad or just not that good villains, because MCU has a big problem of trying to kill off all their characters at the end, and people want them to come back. Now, to Chris's view now, what happens when you bring the characters back? You get a No Way Home. You get a new way of how you introduce your characters, how you push them forward. Is that a good thing, a bad thing? I'm not sure. I'm on Chris's team when it comes to No Way Home. I love that movie. I love that they brought them back and did something different with them, try to redeem some of them. Sure. But that's what happens when you leave these characters alive. They come back and you have to do something else with them. Yeah. So I mean, I think that's a really good thing. Stop killing off all these characters. Gorr, he was goddamn scary looking. Yeah. When he was that part when he was sitting with the kids and talking like, oh my God, you know what I mean?
That's a great scene. Yeah. I wish he had done that with gods instead of kids.
And that was another thing that I thought with the movie that it moved too quick for me. I talked about this earlier as far as Jane Foster. It'd been cool to see her as Mighty Thor a little longer, do the Spider-Man thing. I've been doing this for like the past 6 months. I'm still trying to figure it out, just to give sort of weight. So when she shows up, like, okay, wow.
For Jane?
Yeah, for Jane. Yeah. Gorr, he should have been a legend or a myth. He should have been killing gods for years. You know what I mean? Until he found out, okay, I need you because you have something I need to do what I have to do.
Because I saw some of the movie after. It was because this is why I wanted to rush and see it at the theater again because I said this movie's not going to work as well. For me watching that at home than when when I'm at the theater. Yeah, because that crowd makes it.
Sure.
Yeah. When I was watching at home, I was just like, I'm just not feeling it anymore, man. I still like it. It's fun. But I'm just it wasn't when I was at the movie theater. You heard me. I'm like, oh God. Yeah. So I'm with you that I don't mind them coming back. Yeah. I just, it was just a different feeling for me here. But then, like you two, you love this right here. I'm not giving up on the MCU or anything like that. I do think that there are more interesting things. I mean, I'm just being spoiled on what DC is doing. Like I said, we had this discussion on Thursday. Yeah. And I said, for the first time in during this run with DC and Marvel, this is the first time I feel like DC is doing something more interesting than Marvel.
I'm with you only in the sense of not so much what they're going to put on the screen, it's what's happening behind the scenes.
We talked about that too.
That's keeping me interested. You know what I mean?
That too.
That is more so what it is for me.
I think Marvel's probably hitting its Pixar phase where that's not making the movie, because we're doing the same thing here as you say with Marvel. It's like Pixar has been the high standard of quality,
standard,
and so in that day they just started making things that weren't that good,
or making something that was average, and you're like, average. I'm used to gold. Average. Out of here.
Exactly.
This is the worst thing ever. Why'd you even waste my time with this? I hate you.
Damn it.
Jesus.
But you go online. That's what it is. This is what the comments are now.
You know why I think that is? Because there is nothing to look forward to, I think. You got to remember that, again, those other movies, right? You stayed to the beginning, the end, and the end to see how this is all connected. And right now, we're at a point where we have filler movies.
Yeah.
Right? That just kind of are on their own, which we would have loved if this was the beginning of the MCU proper. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. But now it's like, okay, you have taught us, conditioned us to understand, like, okay, this leads to something else. And right now, every Phase 4 movie has not led into anything really.
Yeah. But for me, I'm one of those people where Marvel is starting to turn into more humor, Easter eggs, and stingers. Guess who's coming up next? Than actual leading me to something, a bigger story, or being
A grander arc.
an exceptional movie or something that has an arc, because like I said, a lot of those movies had a different tone. They have variety, and now a lot of it is having the same humor. Which I don't mind the humor. I just mix it up a little bit. But I mean, that's it. I think a lot of people, what you see happening with Thor is just feelings that have carried over from how people have been feeling about the MCU anyway. And some people don't mind it.
More going back to Thor Love and Thunder itself, I do think there's a backlash against Taika Waititi right now.
Yeah, I think so.
Even some stuff that we haven't liked him. I didn't see Free Guy, but a lot of people said he was terrible in that.
He is.
And, I didn't particularly like his character in Lightyear. But I'm even noticing on social media, people are talking about him, it's shifting. Where there are articles, even on the Double Dose of Fan page, where Taika Waititi said this about this person, and everyone's
they know him personally,
and everyone's like, that guy, I knew he was an asshole. I never liked him to begin with. And then you read the article, he was joking. That's the kind of shit. I'm like, all right, yeah.
Wow, living long enough to become these villains.
Yeah, that's what happens when you have that much success. That's inevitably happens.
Also, I mean, like we're talking about in all these movies that he's in, and everything that he's in, I think he's become so loved in Hollywood. I had nothing against him. I'm not talking like he's a bad person. I don't know.
He's very talented too.
He's extremely talented, but he is also being a little overexposed now.
Yeah, sure.
He's doing the same thing.
Sure.
I think, there's a little bit of what Taika Waititi backlash being brought into Thor too. But that's not with me. It's not. If anything, I'm like you. I'm just like when I saw him or heard him in Lightyear, just like, this is goddamn same thing
it's
again.
Just the character didn't work. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
So, well, there you go.
Well, for what it's worth, his two shows, What We Do in the Shadows and Our Flag Means Death, are both fantastic.
No,
Yes.
I've heard.
Yes.
No, this is not a bash.
Yeah,
Of Taika Waititi at all.
I know. But yeah, no, what you guys are saying about him being overexposed in the Wheel of Fame, where only me and a few people know about you, so you're the best. Oh, now everybody knows about you. Now
You ain't shit now.
Yeah.
You used to be cool. What happened to you, man? You sold out. Sold out or what?
I discovered you.
Now your name is Twan.